New Year starts with God. Good morning, everyone. We've stepped into a brand new year, and I want to ask you something. How did you enter it? With excitement? With fear? With a long list of resolutions you're already tired of thinking about? See, every year people say, "This is my year." But let me tell you something powerful. It only becomes your year when you let God lead it. We don't need just a new calendar. We need a renewed heart. Some people try to start the new year with motivation, discipline, or willpower. And listen, those things are good, but they don't last by themselves. You can have the best plans, the strongest intentions, and still end up exhausted if God isn't at the center. When you start the year with God, you're not saying, "God bless my plans." You're saying, "God lead my steps." And that changes everything. Now, let me say this clearly. You don't have to be perfect to start with God. Some of you walked into this year carrying regret. Some of you were disappointed in yourself. Some of you are thinking, "I said the same prayers last year and nothing changed." But hear me, God is not finished with you. Stop letting your past talk you out of your future. Your mistakes are not bigger than God's mercy. Your failures are not louder than His promises. God is more interested in the direction you're going than the mess you made behind you. If you start this year putting God first in your decisions, your attitude, your time, you'll begin to notice something. Peace where there used to be pressure, clarity where there used to be confusion, strength where you used to feel weak. And no, that doesn't mean the year will be easy, but it does mean you won't walk through it alone. So instead of saying, "This year I'll try harder," say, "This year I'll trust deeper." Instead of saying, "I hope things change," say, "God, change me." Because when God is your starting point, He also becomes your sustainer, your guide, and your victory at the finish line. So let's make a decision today, not just to start a new year, but to start it with God. And when you do, I promise you, this year won't just be new, it will be purposeful. A new year arrives with fresh calendars, hopeful expectations, and bold resolutions. People believe that when the date changes, their lives will automatically change too. But time itself has no power to transform a heart. A new year can mark a moment, but it cannot create a new mindset, heal old wounds, or break long-standing habits. Many step into January full of determination only to feel frustrated when the same struggles follow them. That's because true change does not come from the turning of a page, but from the turning of a heart toward God. Resolutions depend heavily on human strength, and human strength has limits. We promise to do better, be better, and try harder. But eventually fatigue sets in. Motivation fades, discipline weakens, and old patterns return. This does not mean people are incapable. It means they were never designed to change themselves without God's help. Real transformation happens when faith replaces self-effort and obedience replaces intention. God does not just modify behavior. He renews the inner person, shaping thoughts, attitudes, and desires from the inside out. When faith is renewed, perspective begins to shift. Instead of asking, "What can I accomplish this year?" the heart asks, "God, what do you want to do in me?" That shift invites God's power into daily life. Faith opens the door for grace, and grace empowers change that lasts. Obedience then becomes a response, not a burden. It is no longer about forcing change, but about trusting God enough to follow His direction even when it feels uncomfortable. Obedience may not always be easy, but it produces growth that resolutions never can. Each step taken in faith strengthens character and deepens dependence on God. Over time, small acts of obedience lead to lasting transformation. Habits change, attitudes soften, and purpose becomes clearer, not because the year is new, but because the heart is aligned with God's will. When God is allowed to lead, transformation becomes a journey sustained by His strength rather than a struggle fueled by human effort. When God is not first, everything else slowly slips out of order. Many people begin the year by prioritizing goals, finances, relationships, and success, then plan to fit God in when time allows. But God was never meant to be an addition to life. He is meant to be the foundation of it. Starting with God means inviting Him into decisions before choices are made, not after mistakes happen. It means seeking His wisdom instead of relying solely on personal understanding. When God is placed first, clarity begins to replace confusion because life is no longer driven by pressure but by purpose. Putting God first does not mean life suddenly becomes perfect or free from challenges. It means life becomes aligned. When alignment is right, peace follows, even in difficulty. Many feel overwhelmed because they are trying to manage life in their own strength, carrying responsibilities they were never meant to carry alone. When God is first, burdens are shared and direction becomes clearer. Priorities shift naturally, and what once felt urgent may lose its power, while what truly matters gains importance. Time, energy, and focus begin to settle into a healthier rhythm because God brings order where there was once imbalance. Starting with God also changes expectations. Instead of demanding instant results, the heart learns patience. Instead of striving for control, it learns trust. This kind of beginning sets the tone for the entire year, shaping reactions, decisions, and attitudes. When God leads from the beginning, life is not lived in constant correction mode, trying to fix what went wrong, but in steady guidance, moving forward with intention and confidence, learning daily how to listen, depend, and respond with faith rather than fear. Your past has a powerful voice if you allow it to speak louder than God's promises. Many people enter a new year already defeated because they are dragging old failures into new opportunities. They replay mistakes, miss chances, and wrong decisions until shame convinces them that growth is no longer possible. But the past was never meant to be a prison. It was meant to be a lesson. God does not consult your history to determine your future. He works with willing hearts, not perfect records. Failure has a way of making people hesitate, doubt themselves, and expect disappointment. Over time, it can become an excuse to stop trying or believing. But quitting does not protect you from pain. It only keeps you from purpose. God specializes in restoration, not condemnation. What feels like disqualification is often preparation in disguise. Every mistake can become a testimony when surrendered to God because He redeems what people think is wasted. Holding on to the past drains strength needed for the present. It keeps people focused on what went wrong instead of what God is doing now. When the past is released, faith has room to grow. This does not mean forgetting lessons learned. It means refusing to let guilt control direction. God offers forgiveness not just to erase sin, but to restore confidence and courage. He invites people to stand up again, wiser, humbler, and more dependent on Him. The moment someone stops using their past as a reason to quit, they step into freedom. God does not ask for a flawless story, only a willing heart. When trust replaces regret, hope begins to rise, and forward movement becomes possible even when the road ahead feels unfamiliar and stretching faith beyond comfort. Many people delay change because they believe they must first become better, stronger, or more disciplined before coming to God. They focus so much on perfection that they never take the first step forward. This mindset creates pressure, guilt, and fear of failure. But God has never required perfection as the price of relationship. He looks at direction, not flawlessness. What matters most is not whether you stumble along the way, but whether your heart is turned toward Him. Perfection focuses on performance, but direction focuses on pursuit. When people chase perfection, they become discouraged by every mistake and exhausted by unrealistic expectations. They measure themselves by what they lack instead of by where they are headed. Direction, on the other hand, allows room for growth. It acknowledges weakness but chooses obedience anyway. God honors a heart that keeps moving toward Him, even when progress feels slow and imperfect. Life is a journey filled with learning curves, adjustments, and moments of correction. Expecting perfection ignores the reality of growth. God understands that change takes time. He is patient with process and gentle with those who are willing. A person may fall, struggle, or hesitate, but if they keep choosing faith over fear and obedience over excuses, God remains faithful to guide them forward. He is not counting failures. He is watching faithfulness. Direction also brings freedom. When perfection is the goal, mistakes feel devastating. But when direction is the focus, mistakes become opportunities to learn and mature. Instead of quitting after failure, the heart learns to repent, realign, and continue. God's grace makes space for restoration, not retreat. He strengthens those who admit their need for Him and rely on His strength rather than their own abilities. God does not expect instant transformation, but consistent surrender. Each decision to trust Him, even in uncertainty, shapes character and builds spiritual momentum. Growth happens in small, faithful steps taken daily. As long as the heart keeps turning toward God, even imperfect progress leads to meaningful change. Direction keeps faith alive, hope active, and dependence on God constant. allowing transformation to unfold naturally through His guidance rather than human striving. God is not waiting for flawless performance before He gets involved in someone's life. Many people believe they must fix everything, overcome every weakness, and stop every bad habit before they can truly walk with God. This belief creates pressure that leads to frustration and spiritual burnout. Instead of moving forward, people stay stuck, afraid of making mistakes. But God never asked for perfection. He asks for willingness. He responds to hearts that are turned toward Him, even when they are still in process. Direction reveals desire. A person who keeps choosing God even while struggling is showing faith in action. Growth does not happen in a straight line. It happens through consistency and surrender. When direction is right, God takes responsibility for the results. He guides, corrects, and strengthens along the way. Expecting perfection puts the focus on human ability, but focusing on direction places trust in God's grace. Grace is what empowers change, not self-criticism or constant self-evaluation. Mistakes often discourage people because they see them as proof that they are failing. But God sees mistakes as moments to teach, refine, and redirect. Falling does not mean someone is going backward if they are still facing the right direction. What matters is not how many times someone stumbles, but whether they are willing to get back up and keep walking with God. Direction keeps hope alive because it reminds the heart that progress is still happening even when it feels slow. Perfection creates fear of failure, while direction creates courage to try again. When people release the need to be perfect, they become more honest, more teachable, and more dependent on God. That dependence is where real strength is found. God works best in surrender hearts that acknowledge their need for Him daily. He shapes character over time, not through instant change, but through steady faithfulness. Each step taken toward God matters. Small decisions to obey, pray, forgive, or trust carry more weight than grand intentions that are never acted upon. God honors movement, not mastery. As long as the heart keeps turning toward Him, He continues to lead, guide, and transform, patiently shaping lives through grace, truth, and unwavering faithfulness.